All right, I'd like to call a meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the East Lyme Board of Finance for Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. We are going via Zoom tonight due to, I guess, a resurgence of the Delta variants. And I guess at the last Board of Finance meeting, I was exposed to somebody who actually tested positive, and while on vacation, actually last week, I had to test myself and found out I was negative. So I'm happy to be here and healthy and on Zoom. So it is now 7:02, and if we'll, I guess, do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Are there any delegations tonight? Let me see if there's anybody. I have a Jay Wilson as an attendee. That's Julie Wilson?
She'll just be here. She's, obviously a town employee.
Yes. Okay. So I think we're set. I don't see anybody else. Okay.
No.
So I guess there's no delegations tonight. Next is the approval of minutes. Can I hear a motion on the regular meeting minutes of July 14th, 2021?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the East Lyme Board of Finance regular meeting minutes of July 14, 2021.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Rich Steele. Are there any changes, questions, comments? Hearing none. I'll take a vote. All in favor of approving the regular meeting minutes of July 14, 2021, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, abstained? Okay, that passes 4-0-0. Next, I have the special meeting minutes of July 28, 2021. Can I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve the East Lyme Board of Finance special meeting minutes of Wednesday, July 28, 2021.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Was that John Birmingham? Thank you. Are there any questions, comments, changes, amendments? John?
Yeah, I have changes on page 4, paragraph 4. Tell me when you're ready. Starts out with Mr. Birmingham.
You're saying, let's see.
You ready for me?
Where are you talking about? Sorry, I'm not following where you are.
Page 4, paragraph 4. Right?
Oh,
Line
okay,
in.
let's see. Oh, I see where you are now. Okay.
All right. Changes are going to be like 3 or 4 lines. Mr. Birmingham said he agrees that we all want a good product. He said that when he saw the room in the public safety building when it was said to have mold because the air conditioning was turned off for a while. It looked more like mildew because mold is different. It has black spots and patches that penetrate the sheetrock, whereas mildew stays on the surface. And it's white or light gray that comes off on your hand like powder when you rub your hand across it, which I did. And that's it.
Okay. Karen, did you get that?
No, why don't you email it to me, John, and I'll insert it. Can you hear me?
Just about, which,
Okay, so Karen asked if you could email it to her and then she'll
Sure.
insert it.
yeah, I will.
Okay. Great.
Thanks.
Anything else, John?
I had one on the next page. It's paragraph 2. That Mr. Birmingham said to the Board of, that the job of the Board of Finance is to determine if the town can afford this. And the federal government has handed us or given us the money to do so to the American Rescue Plan.
Okay. Karen, are you good? Or you want John just to email you the change again?
I'm okay with that one. I just didn't.
Okay, she's okay with that one. So if you could just email her the change on the first one, that would be great.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Are there any other changes? No, okay. I didn't have any changes. Can I guess, hear a motion then with the amendments?
Yeah. I'll move to approve the East Lyme Board of Finance special meeting minutes as amended Wednesday, July 28, 2021.
Second.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Ann. Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And any abstain, any opposed? No, okay. It's 4-0-0. All right, next, moving on, we have the reports of the first selectman.
I forgot it was a regular meeting that I'm actually on the agenda. It's been, you've had several special meetings and such. No, these meetings go on long enough. I don't need to give a big report. Obviously, you've been very involved in everything I've been involved with in that. We've been aiming for the replacement of the roof. The town building committee meets tomorrow night to decide on some of the details and how to replace that roof, including the 20 versus 30 year debate. Everybody I've talked to says stay with the 20, but I'm going to let the town building committee, they're the people that we appoint and are in charge, and they're typically in the trades, and they will come, and if there's any changes to what we've already discussed and approved, then we will move that forward through the appropriation process. Everything else is run on schedules, concerts on Wednesday nights, concerts on Friday nights. In around the McCook's area, we had 2 great musical performances, plays, play up at McCook's for the last week by Joyce Beauvais and friends, the Shell Players. And then East Lyme Regional Theater put on a heck of a program, Something Rotten, over at the high school. Very proud of all our artisans, all our artists, our actors, actresses, etc. We're working on some art for downtown, maybe some murals on sides of buildings, some street art literally painted on the street. We're working on that as part of a really a county-wide push to bring back the arts, as the arts in general, culture has suffered so greatly during COVID, and we need to feel human again. And I think art will bring a special, we'll do us all a world of good. Let's put it that way. Everything else is right on schedule as far as the business of the town. It gets a little quiet in the summertime as we go down to 1 meeting a month. But we will, by the Board of Selectmen, will be forwarding you more American Rescue Plan funding requests in September. I have appointed the Board of Selectmen as the committee, the American Rescue Fund Committee, and they will stay in place until December, when a new Board of Selectmen come into play, a new administration takes hold, and that may be a broader, more widespread, inclusive committee as we go forward. But there are some lingering requests. I'll tell you now that first of all, this American Rescue Funds, the Council of Governments has done tons of work to help our towns, the 22 member towns, and they don't get any American Rescue funding. And the committee the Council of Governments took a vote, unanimously approved that the Council of Governments should receive 1% of our funding so that they can carry on the work. We think the recovery will be years and years, and some of the work that they'll need to do, especially when we talk about social services and regionalization of services, that will be very important. Also, Ledgelight Health District didn't get any funding as part of the American Rescue. That was dependent on county government to take care of that in most other states. But of course, we don't have a county government. So the money went straight to the towns. That's why we have so much. But we also are being requested to forward 1% of our funding to the Ledgelight Health District. Gosh knows they're doing, and it's not over. I mean, they're as frustrated as the rest of us. Here we are in a Zoom meeting. I will say that right now the policy is to have town meetings live. It is still the town policy to do that. We are in a place now where we are talking about going back to Zoom meetings. You will hear later tonight, as part of that American Rescue funding, the need to hybrid meetings, so that if someone is exposed and someone doesn't feel comfortable, we can still have the meeting live and local for the public to join, but also have the comfort that people, both public and panelists, can stay at home and also participate in government. You know, that's I think important to all of us as we serve the citizens of East Lyme. Lastly, Ledgelight Health District did recommend that we issue a mask mandate for the town hall and all town buildings, indoor buildings. That's library, that's senior center, that is the town hall, that's mostly those facilities, you know, police building, fire stations and all that. So starting Friday at 8 a.m., we will require masks to come into the town hall. We'll be posting that on the front doors, and of course the library, etc. Our employees will also be required to wear masks until they get to their workstation. They'll be able to stay in their workstation. They're all 6 feet apart, and we did that. Sorry, I have something, a pop-up that's coming on my computer. So employees will be able to work at their workstation without masks, but of course then when they greet the public, should the public come into their offices, the masks go back on. So that's coming. With that in place, you know, the world of Zoom might be coming back to us for a little bit until we get past this Delta bump. Everything I'm reading about in Europe was that this was about a 2-month bump, and it dies off pretty quickly. We're hopeful that this, you know, we get to September, October, that we'll be seeing the end of the Delta spike, and certainly we'll see on the downside of that. But more to come, and you know, we said a lot of things that didn't come true a year ago when we were dealing with the first wave and the second wave. So keep your fingers crossed that life will not get too wonky and we'll be back to normal sooner than later. Are there any questions?
Mark, I just have one.
Yes.
Do you know when, like, time-wise, we would get a kind of a comprehensive plan of how you want to spend the American Rescue funds? Is that something that you see coming in the next few months, or is that something that will start with the new administration, or just so the Board of Finance knows and that the town residents know?
We have several requests that need to get out the door, like you're getting tonight. Comprehensive plan is going to be tough. We have 4 years to decide on this and 6 years to spend it. Another whole bunch of money coming May of next year. So I know that there's some specific requests to take care of food and mental health and take care of us. And I think if you're talking about long range plans, et cetera, I think that we'll leave that up to the next administration to figure out. But I do know that there's some holes in the dam that we want to plug, and some things that, you know, the government is still moving on. You know, we never stopped governing in this town, and we never stopped helping people. And one of the things that are coming out now, of course, the eviction rates. the evictions and the town is responsible. If someone gets evicted, we're responsible for taking their items and storing them, and sometimes finding them a place to live. And that's a drain on our budget and in our systems, that. So we're working with, maybe we have an eviction fund that we put together to brace people, so that to buffer people that they can survive through this, but also get back on their feet and maybe pay us back, and moves on. Full on comprehensive view. This is how we're going to spend it, and we're going to decide today. No, we're not going to do that. We're definitely not going to do that. I think it should be an open air thing. I think the needs are coming up, and they're obvious needs. It's not something that would be, should we back burner this or not? No, these are going to be very direct needs that we're going to forward to you, and then we'll let the next administration and the wider, broader, all-inclusive committee come up with maybe more long-range plans, if that's how you want to describe it.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Does anybody have any other questions? Nope. Okay, thank you. All right, Anna Johnson, Director of Finance. You're up.
In your packages, you received the month reports for July. So looking at the overall budget summary, of course, our largest collections for the month were with our taxes. I will point out that we did receive the insurance distribution from KERMA. They have been doing member equity distributions at the end of each year. And this year was $63,230, which we projected getting $27,500. So I was pleased to see a greater amount, and it's actually I believe the largest amount we've received since we've been getting these member equity distributions. And the other item I'll mention is, while we did well with the building permits, if you look at getting 1/12 of the revenues per month, we're a little bit low on that end, but that can certainly change. And we did have another good month with conveyance taxes. They were a little over $57,000. On the expenditure side, we do have debt service payments, principal and interest, that are due in July. So we paid out a little over $3.6 million. We paid out the first quarterly library subsidy of $288,000. We made our liability and workers' comp insurance premiums, along with a few other miscellaneous expenses that are highlighted on the reports for you. And then at this point, in looking through the budget, I have no items of interest to report to you. I don't know if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask.
No, it doesn't look like it. Any questions? No.
Okay, then I'll also indicate that I did send out to you all today by email, because obviously there were no green folders this week, the updated unassigned fund balance report. So for the most part, the numbers really didn't change that much month over month. And I did also send you today an updated audit management letter corrective action plan. As requested, I added a column that indicates the responsible party, and the items that I took action on during the month were the information technology controls. I had a meeting with myself, Mr. Bergaw, Mr. Shear, and of course Carmen Ames. We discussed the recommendations, and we are working on getting them completed. The other one, with regards to the performance bond maintenance, I do get reports at the end of, at each fiscal year from the planning, zoning, and inland wetlands, and there were some issues that needed to be resolved on those. So I did meet with Gary Gaishel and Velma Holland. We discussed it, and they are going to amend their report so that I have the information that I need at year end. And then the other item was the internal controls over financial reporting. On that one, I developed a worksheet so that I can keep track of everything that's done and set up, you know, at what quarter ends I'm going to review which fund. So, you know, that one there is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, completed. I have something to work with going forward. And then the other ones, you know, I'm still working on those, but those are the ones that I focused on over the last month.
Does anybody have any questions? Anna, I just have one question on, it says number 5, allowance for doubtful accounts, property taxes. Can you define or explain what a doubtful account is?
So inevitably every year we have taxpayers that don't pay their bills. And so based on what we have remaining at the end of the year, we have on our balance sheet an account saying that we're not going to collect. And so year after year, we haven't changed that amount. So what they're looking for us to do is come up with a calculation based on what our delinquent accounts are at the end of the year, and you know, a reasonable estimate on what we don't expect to collect.
And the way you determine what you don't expect to collect, is it usually like a certain percentage that?
Well, that's what I have to work on. Figure, you know, look at what would be a reasonable approach to that.
Okay. I just never heard the word doubtful. I expected to see the word like delinquent or something. So it's just surprising. Any other questions from anybody? No. Okay. Anything else, Anna?
That's it this evening.
Okay. All right. Moving ahead to new business. It looks like there's a special appropriation for $48,846 for an NSEP grant. Is there somebody that could explain that to us?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. If you recall, every year we come before you with the nuclear safety grant funding, which we received from the state of Connecticut because we're an EPZ town. Several of those years, we come back to you with pool funding requests. Unfortunately, all of these are zero impact to the taxpayers of the town of East Lyme. Much of what we do with this money, if you recall last year, is to outfit the current EOC, which is being placed into the new public safety building, and also some other safety items which are crucial to the operations of the town. But again, trying to get these items and get these facilities outfitted without impacting the taxpayers of East Lyme directly. I have to give credit. Julie Wilson does a tremendous job of putting this all together in these requests. Another part of what we receive in the end, the Nuclear Safety Fund, just so you are aware, it does not come in this request, but a significant portion of my salary is also offset by these funds. So certainly, the town of East Lyme benefits greatly from the ability to utilize these funds from the state. But to go through what we're looking for in this, and again, this is a $0 impact to the town of East Lyme. But we're looking to get approval for the Command IQ workstation for the EOC communications room. What this does is the EOC, for those of you who are not familiar with the Emergency Operations Center, there's a communications room which we have adjacent to that. In the event that there's an activation of the EOC and it is staffed, we will almost always have a dispatcher in there. The dispatcher does radio communications. It also does computer communications with the state of Connecticut. In that room, this Command IQ workstation will allow the dispatcher to replicate all communications that the dispatch center itself can do. So really it adds another portion to your dispatch center absent the 911 answering, but certainly this piece of equipment is crucial and a very big piece of what we can do. Additionally, we're looking for a new computer system for that communications room. Currently, the one that's in there now is 10 plus years old. That system is utilized to communicate directly with the state of Connecticut on their web EOC platform. So anytime that we have an activation And also off of an activation, and I'll give you COVID as an example, we regularly have to update Web EOC, so it's done from this computer terminal. So we're looking to replace that computer with these funds. EOC kitchen in the new building, again, trying to defer things and not impact our taxpayers. Because the EOC is staffed for long terms, for a storm, large events, millstone drills. You know, we're looking to outfit it with the items that are needed to utilize that, and that would be that kind of kitchenette type area with a microwave, coffee station, refrigerator, countertop, etc. Everbridge, one thing that we are trying desperately to do, and we were very fortunate and happy to get these funds. Everbridge is what everybody would refer to as reverse 911. Right now, the state of Connecticut and we as a town in Connecticut have the ability in a certain limited emergencies to use the Everbridge system to notify our residents. What we are doing is we are purchasing an upgrade to that allows us a much softer entry into it. So right now, if you use what the state gives you, that 911 database that is accessed can only be utilized for significant emergencies, and they're very limited focus on what those life-threatening emergencies could be. The Everbridge that we're looking to get, or it's an offshoot of the same program, allows us to use it for far more. So should we have road closures because of an accident, we have events that are going to impact traffic that are happening. Could be a public works announcement that has to go out to residents for garbage pickup, recycling, road closures. It's also utilized very heavily when it comes to post-storm cleanups. So say we were to have a tropical storm or hurricane come through, it was a multi-day event, we can send out updated messages where people may get food, water, shelter, things such as that. So it's very dynamic. It allows us to communicate very well with our residents. And also, very important to point out, it has an internal function too. So we as the town can utilize this for call outs and notifications for staff. We're going to look to capitalize on that because it's also a very, very good tool. Let's just say, for an example, for town hall staff. Should there be a delayed opening or some sort of closure that takes place, you can send internal messages as well. So very robust, and for $11,000 per year, it certainly is beneficial. Our anticipated goal is to apply in this grant each year because it does have a direct effect on our ability to handle millstone events and millstone emergencies. But again, I think it's a great benefit to the town. Another item is the trailer mounted message sign. You have all seen the programmable message signs that are out there that talk about events, road closures, things that are happening. We unfortunately do not have one that is owned by the town of East Lyme. When we have, let's say, Celebrate East Lyme, we borrow them from the region. So we may get some in from other communities. Having our own would allow us to deploy that sign. And again, Celebrate East Lyme always comes to mind to put it out there a couple days ahead of time to say Main Street will be closed on Saturday, or it could be a long-term closure that has to take place that we can put that sign out. So it allows us, again, that interface and ability to communicate with our residents as well. And then you'll see the last item is 10 reflective roll-up directional signs. 2 years ago, we made an effort to replace the traffic management signs that we had for road closures. We've had to roll those out multiple occasions for temporary stop signs, for detours, for road closures. It allows us to have these foldable signs that we don't have to rely or wait for Public Works, and they all have a task and mission that they have to do. It allows me to deploy them in a police cruiser, get them right out to a scene, get those popped up because of the way they are. So we're just looking for 10 more of those because after our purchase, we recognize, especially after ECES, we recognize we didn't have enough of those signs should we need to do a lot of detours because of trees that are down. So that's that request, and I certainly am open to any questions you may have.
Does anybody have any questions? Doesn't look like it was very thorough. Thank you, Chief Finkelstein. Can I hear a motion if there's no questions? Ann?
Go ahead.
Okay, move to approve.
Or John?
Move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $48,846 from the Nuclear Safety Emergency Program, NSEP, to the account number 01-70-725-224-006, parentheses, NSEP equipment, to cover the cost of purchasing the equipment noted on July 29th, 2021. Request for the new EOC and forward to the legal voters of the town as a town meeting for approval.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ann Santoro. Okay, is there any other comments, discussion anybody wants to have on this? No, otherwise I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand, indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Okay, it passes 400. Thank you. Okay. Next is a special appropriation for CNRE Fund 32, $7,029 for 2021/22 PWD CIP vehicles price increase. Is that Joe Bergaw? Are you the one to speak to that?
I am. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So, as everyone's aware, the vehicle acquisition process and this budget process is a lengthy, we submit our stuff back in, December, and then it goes through the process and all this. And we were carrying numbers for two of our vehicles, the garbage truck and the dump truck. All the parts, pickup trucks and stuff of that are much smaller costs, so there's less variable spread. But a 2% or 1% increase in pricing of these things. So when we get closer to the appropriations process, we put it out to bid, because with COVID and everything like that, they don't keep the numbers out there for very long. So we put out the bids, gave the for the garbage truck and the dump truck, and the same companies that actually were giving us estimated prices. We actually did even bump them up 2 to 3%, but the numbers came in a little more than we even on top of that, because of everything that everyone is aware of happening in the world. So we have our numbers came in on the garbage truck was $3,479 more than we had anticipated and put through the process, and in the dump truck, $3,550. So you still need to move forward. These vehicles still need to be replaced. And one avenue to address this shortage is in the past, when we've bought new vehicles, we've sold off the old vehicles, and they get put into a capital non-recurring account that's actually specifically allocated for public works, and that account has $58,000 in it right now. So what we're proposing here is to take $7,029 out of that to cover these two garbage trucks, so we don't put ourselves in the hole right away, and move forward and get these vehicles purchased right away. So that's the request. That's what's going on. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Does anybody have any questions?
I do, Joe. Yeah, hi, Joe. Thanks for the information. I had a little trouble just doing, just getting to that same number or set of numbers, the 3,479 and the 3,550, because I wasn't sure if you used 276,000 and 153.5 from our bonding document.
No, I didn't use that. So,
Okay.
So the numbers, that's unfortunate with the Zoom thing. I normally be at my desk, or it could run down on my desk. I don't have the actual numbers, but I can explain what's going on. Is there's the cost of the truck, and then there's for say the garbage truck, and then there's we need to put a radio in it, and then we minus the what we think for the trade-in, which we think we can get, and that's the true number that I asked for the vehicle acquisition. When it comes to the dump truck, it's not only the cost of the truck, the radio, but there's also a plow component of that too. So the number that I put in the vehicle acquisition is a net number. Well, it's all the things that we need minus the trade-in, and I took the number we need based on the actual truck. So that's apples and apples. What I was carrying for the truck, not including the radio and the plow, so to cover that.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Anybody? No, okay. Um, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, Rich,
I'll make the motion. Move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $7,029 from CNRE Fund 32, account 32-300-400-700-999 in parentheses PWD reserve for the purpose of covering the cost of pricing increases from the original estimates of the Public Works Department 2021-2022 CIP vehicles.
can I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, John Birmingham. Is there any further discussion? Questions? No, okay. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand and saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstain? No, okay, it passes 400. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. We have old business, a special appropriation for the American Rescue Plan funds in the amount of $280,557. Is that Anna? Are you the one who's discussing that, or Mr. Nickerson? Is that you?
Well, you have it all in front of you. What I don't have is I don't have the packet because now I'm at home. So I just realized that I'm looking
It's a
at.
COVID.
I don't have it on the. It's not listed individually on the agenda. I guess we haven't gone through these items in your meeting before. So Anna, if you want to bring them up one by one, I can explain them.
So the first item is Wi-Fi improvements at the East Lyme Town Hall.
Yeah, we have a building that was built with cement. If you've been in my office or in any of the offices, a big thick walls of cement, and the Wi-Fi is just horrible in the building. And as we get to just more and more IT dependent, we have a failing Wi-Fi system. I'll tell you what, when I'm in my office, I turn off the Wi-Fi and I do anything on my phone through cellular. That's how bad it is. And I actually have a Wi-Fi module right outside my office and still doesn't work. So we need to upgrade that. It's a workplace for dozens of people, and we need to have some efficiencies there for emergencies, for IT, for all of the above. That's very simply stated.
And Mark, because this was an item that came up, improvement of speed, range, and security, but your office is upstairs and there's windows in the basement that you can't do that. So the downstairs is dead in the water without a Wi-Fi system because we're in a bunker. So just keep that in mind with when you do this is absolutely needed to improve the Wi-Fi in the building. So that amount, and it's with Star Computers, which is from a purchasing policy, those 5,129 is the continuity service. They do all our IT work, so that's the vendor.
So I just have a quick question on that. Is that then for the whole building, or is it just for a section of the building?
This system it's going to be 6 nodes. It's the whole building.
The whole building.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's not just my office. No, it's a whole building. Yeah, and it just
Perfect.
we need to bring it up to speed, literally,
Definitely.
and no pun intended.
Yeah.
The next one, I believe, is probably the hybrid system,
Yes.
right, Anna?
Yeah.
I've gone over these things, God, for the last several months. The hybrid system, as I indicated earlier in my address to you, listen, it looks like we might be doing this for a little while, this Zoom thing, and we want to get to a hybrid situation where, like the town meeting we did in the auditorium, that was done with a whole lot of man hours and 3 people working in. And what we need to do is get to a point where we bought the system that most other towns have bought at this point and be able to have a hybrid system. We will, if we're 100% Zoom, then we're doing it this way. And Ann, you're doing a great job, by the way, running the Zoom meeting tonight. I know you had a little instruction earlier.
Yes, thank God.
Once you do it once or twice, it's easy. But if you're doing a hybrid where you are inviting the public, and I think their expectation is just that, even if the 6 of you and the three of us join you at the town hall, the public is crying out for, hey, we want to participate in government, not just watch it on the YouTube feed, but participate in government and be able to do that from their home. So we want to be able to do that. And that's what this is. And obviously it's directly COVID related. We weren't even thinking Zoom 18 months ago, and here we are. So let me go through the list. There's a few other items and then we can go on. Richard, you want to ask now? Sure.
Yes. Regarding the virtual meeting package, the Zoom or whatever technology we use, will that help enable the school system as well for hybrid, or is it just for the municipal side?
I believe they're already on a hybrid system. You know, their technology is far beyond ours, including the funding we give the schools versus the municipality.
Right.
I believe they've already bought into a package. We cannot share it. It's, you know, their hub and their base and all that is back at the school. But it will be, I believe they can do it, and we will be doing it.
Rich, this is mainly also for the actual town hall large meeting room. That's where all the software is. That's all the AV that we got the grant to spend all this money. This money actually is from the same vendor too. Actually, it works along with whatever we just installed in that room. So this is not something that we just share. This is something to make that town hall meeting room accessible in a hybrid mode.
Perfect. Thank you.
So just a quick follow-up. Do they also, the package we're buying, is there like a maintenance that comes along with that if there's issues?
That's a good question. I have, because Carmen gave me the quote the other day. This is, it does have a warranty and service for the first year, and then I'm sure after that point there'll be some kind of package, but I can't believe it's going to be too much. I just don't have the numbers, but it looks like the first year it's covered.
And depending on the problem, and it's a good question, depending on the problem, it could just be Star Computer coming in and fixing it, or Carmen coming up and fixing it. As you know, we have problems with our IT stuff in the big room here and there all the time. We hope to get it much better when we move to the PSB, because we'll have a direct link into that building. But yeah, IT goes bad and wonky all the time. So we expect to be able to either have Star Computer, or if there's a reasonable package with this company, we'll do it that way.
Yeah, no, I think this would be great. Yeah, that will be very useful. Okay.
And Santora?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. To follow up on it's a service level agreement, I think it's referred to in the documents, and it's about midway in a set of documents we got from AdTech. And it does say SLA cost, no service contract included, but again, Joe, you might be correct about the 1 year, I'm not sure, but that would be good to know at some point. And then going back, I have a question about client responsibilities. These pages are not numbered, but it's, I think, 3 pages in. That page starts with audio, control, furniture and fixtures, and then it says client responsibilities. Just wondering if there's any cost associated with any of these items. So for example, responsible for wall and ceiling patching and repairs. We're responsible for all network needed in the room. So I didn't know if that was just a separate.
Yeah, those are all things that we would take care of.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Make it happen. And actually, since we replaced the ceiling, it's a lot easier to access the ceiling. Before you couldn't get at it.
Right. We've got the new tiles, right? So that's good.
Yeah, the whole new ceiling system is much easier. We couldn't access anything above the ceiling before because you couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Right. I think this is great, much needed, and it will really help because we might be in a true hybrid situation, you know, where we can have the meetings, but then some folks can't come to the meetings, et cetera. So welcomed. Thanks.
Yeah. The next on the list is it the microwave dishes?
Yes.
Geez, I'm 3 for 3, Anna. Just gonna point that out. You know, we've talked about this during the budget season. We have microwave dishes that beam to the different antenna towers in town. That's how we reach was it 24 square miles of land, not just for our emergency operations people, our fire, our police, our EMS, but even the town public works, our buses communicate through this system. So it's important, it's needed, and the microwave dishes are something that every several years we have to replace, and they've come up on their useful life. We're doing it all together in one package rather than rolling it out over 3 years. We found that this was eligible for American Rescue rather than put the burden on the taxpayers whenever we see that as an opportunity. Why not do it that way? And it's directly related to public safety, in that the communication, of course, needs to happen. You know, not only for our citizens, but of course the man or woman running into a burning building and having to communicate back out to the truck. And so we want to make sure that this is priority one, communication of our emergency operations folks, emergency personnel. So if there are any questions, we have some people standing by that might be able to answer them, technical questions. Otherwise, I think you know what we're doing here. We're just we're not increasing our system. We are just this is maintenance. This is planned maintenance. Okay. Next on the list, I'm gonna. Is it the youth services, Anna?
Security cameras.
Security cameras. Good. I'm glad Joe and Chief are here. We're adding some cameras onto the system, but also making sure that the cameras that we have are all uniform, and that they will all report back to the new dispatch center. There'll be live feeds, so that if something's going on or something is observed, we can get emergency personnel to that place. Chief Mike, would you want to fill in the blank on that?
Sure, thank you. The vast majority of this request is just that. It is looking to enhance the ability of those cameras to communicate, put them all onto a similar platform. One opportunity we have with the move to the public safety building is a very, very robust video management system. We have a system that is capable of not only handling the video inside of the public safety building, but also the entirety of all the feeds throughout the town. So what's going to happen right now, it's all a mismatch. So we have certain places that go back where they can be viewed by dispatch, but aren't recorded by dispatch. Some places that aren't even viewed by dispatch, we actually have to send somebody out to the field to download should we have an incident that happens. So what we're looking to do is make it a platform that every single video feed that we have out there goes back into dispatch. The dispatcher can see that on a camera that they can bring up. It goes into the video management system where we have the ability to immediately access that video, review it, use it for evidence, anything that we may need to do. So certainly it's a crucial piece. That's the vast majority of this proposal. Other pieces of it, currently Hole in the Wall is offline with their cameras. The main camera there, which was the oldest in the town's inventory, was struck by lightning and taken offline. Mr. Steele and myself had talked about this actually going back a little ways. What we also want to try to do is not only enhance the security of that facility, but also work with the public trust to get their public camera back up and running, which this would allow us to share our feed that we get from that camera with them. Doesn't impact anything to do. It's easily segmented, with what we're doing with the communications. The other piece of this is enhancing the Wi-Fi inside of McCook's to work with the cameras that already exist in that facility, to put them on a Wi-Fi network inside of the park, take microwave technology, just like we do with the communications, but also microwave to send the video signal back to the Nyack Firehouse, which then through fiber will go back to the new public safety building. So what we're really doing is making a much more efficient, much more modernized system, as well as upgrading several of the cameras. The only additional cameras that we would be doing would be at the senior center, adding to the lower portion of the lot, which is a very dark spot, so to speak. And if you recall back a couple months ago, That is where we had the senior buses had the catalytic converter stall, excuse me, because the buses are housed in a place that had no camera coverage. So that's really the only expansion of any cameras. The vast majority of this is replacing some very old or damaged cameras and greatly enhancing the ability for these cameras to communicate back to a standardized system. So any questions on that, please?
No questions? Doesn't look like, no, thank you very much. Very thorough. Okay, next is the Wellness Prevention Mentoring Coordinator for East Lyme Youth Services.
And I see that Dave Putnam's over there in the attendee pile of people. Is there a way to bring him in so that he could speak to this?
Sure, wait, give me 1 second.
You all do it differently than most of the other meetings in town. But I know you can do this somehow.
See if it worked.
Yeah, well, he disappeared from there and he ended up as a panelist. That's good news.
There we go.
I'd like to introduce this. I know you folks know what's going on here, but I read a couple comments and I heard a couple comments at a town meeting and read a few, maybe it was the day blog or Facebook or something. I even had a phone call to my office. Mental health problems in this town don't stop when people graduate high school. And while we're working with the high school counselors and mental health professionals, you know, we also have to take care of the other citizens in this town. So I've heard it said, oh, we already spend money on this. Why are we doing this? Why are we doubling our efforts? Because traditionally towns use their youth services as the place for counseling. It doesn't mean you have to be 14 years old. It's what they do in Waterford. It's what they do in Saybrook. It's what places in Connecticut and America, it's what they do. When we have wellness people, mental health wellness people on our team, typically they go through a youth services department. That's what Dave is proposing. A lot of the work this full-timer will be doing is talking about drug and alcohol prevention, maybe working with even the Brian Daigle Foundation on suicide prevention, and CRAC, which would be the drug abuse prevention. But we're also considering and talking about what happens when someone needs therapy, or what happens when the police are working with an individual and they need a reference, and it's Saturday night at 10 p.m. or it's in the middle of the summer and the schools are closed. Where do they go? And we need somebody, a resource within the town's team, within the toolbox for not only the police, but maybe just families needing to talk to someone and getting referrals and getting minor incidences, minor things out of their head and out onto the table. We're not proposing a full-on therapy practice, but someplace where people can go. Remember that 20% of the families in this town qualify for free lunch. 20%. Those people might also be the people that say, I don't really have $150 for a 1-hour session in my health insurance. I'm out of a job, I don't have health insurance, you know, all that goes along. We need that resource, other towns have it. We see this as an opportunity to fill that gap, especially coming out of COVID. We hope we're coming out of COVID. And families are hurting. We know this. We know families, all of us do, that that have need. So I'm gonna let Dave take it from there, but I want to emphasize, this isn't about necessarily the kids in the high school. This is also the 25-year-old that's struggling, got out of college a couple of years ago or didn't go to college, and now he or she is really struggling, or the family or the single mom that might need a place to go and then get referenced somewhere, referred somewhere. Thank you. Dave?
Great. Well, welcome everybody. You can hear me and everything. Everybody's good. All right.
Yes.
Cool. So what we kind of looked at, probably about a year ago when we started looking at where we knew some American Rescue Funds, or maybe 6 months ago, we're looking down the road, is we looked at 2 positions, and from the Youth Services Bureau and from the Youth Coalition Bureau. One was a wellness prevention mentoring coordinator, and this would be someone that just would concentrate on Mark had mentioned prevention programs, helping out with our mentoring program. Before COVID hit, we had a Viking mentoring program that we were kind of hybrid with the schools. Unfortunately, that has fallen down because we can't get into the schools to see the kids. We would like to reinstate that. It was very successful. So that would be one person full-time would be a wellness prevention mentoring coordinator. And then the other end of it would be a therapy, clinical therapist counselor position. We were looking at contracting for maybe 8 to 10 hours a week as a start to see where this would go. And so I know with the high school, they have the drug and alcohol counselor there. That person, I know she is swamped every day. She's there 3 days a week, I believe. So this would be in addition to that. And also we would be able to cover, Mark had mentioned, non-school hours with people that might not want to go to counseling during the school hours, or provide weekend and night type of counseling. So we're looking at 2 positions. I think the first one would be the Wellness Prevention Mentoring Coordinator. I see that being a full-time position, would run the East Lyme Youth Coalition. We did some really good things with the Youth Coalition, but we need to do better. And I think if we had someone full-time to be counseling on, to be full-time concentrating on that, would be really important. So if you have questions on that, please feel free to ask away. I think both positions would be contractual, since we know there's like an end date where it's either 2024 or 2026, however that works, that this would be a contractual, on a yearly contractual basis. And I would hope that it's very successful and that we could use additional funding for this. This would just be a start. And then, we would see really some good things coming out of this, and maybe be able to expand on the counselor therapist position. So fire away if you have questions. Hopefully I explained that to you well.
So just one quick question. When you ask about the additional, time or that they could be working, would that be, in other words, with more American Rescue Funds?
Yes. Yeah, I would think that would, since I know part of those funds are geared directly towards wellness and mental health. I think this is a perfect opportunity to use those funds for this. And if we need to come back and 8 to 10 hours isn't enough, if we're swamped, and then I could come back and at least start that conversation. And hopefully we don't, hopefully kids are well, but kids, and Mark had mentioned, I think we lose a little bit between that 18 and 24-year-old, 25-year-old gap. I know colleges have some stuff, but those kids might not be going to school and not at college or in the high school setting, that we would have an opportunity to at least be able to help those individuals as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Rich?
Yes, thank you, Dave. I'm glad to see us getting into this area. In terms of the age limitations, I'm a little confused. It sounds like 25 or so, maybe a cap, except for the families of the individuals, or will this be kind of all ages? And
I would think, Rich, I would think it'd be for all ages. If someone came to us and had an issue, then certainly I think we'd be open to, I want this to be pretty open and pretty broad. I'd hate to, I think we mentioned that 18 to 25-year-old group, because I think you're seeing that's where the, opioid crisis is hitting, and heroin overdoses and all that stuff. It seems to be that age group. So I think that's what we're looking at. But I wouldn't, I'd hate to put a cap on it. If someone needs help, then certainly let's get them the help that they need. And that if it can't be that therapist, then maybe the therapist can refer them to somebody that knows that can get them further help.
Oh, okay. And that would be both the wellness prevention coordinator as well as the therapist.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think right now what I'm looking like, that my vision is the wellness prevention mentoring coordinator is really looking hard at the grade schools, elementary school, elementary, junior high, and high school age kids. But certainly that's going to be a community program where if we're doing I'm going to throw, we had a couple of years ago, we had Chris Herron come. He was an ex-NBA player and speak about his ordeal, and everything was very well received. But it was open for the whole community. I mean, it was geared towards the high school, but then we did an evening session as well. So I think it'd be a good bridge for all ages.
Okay, that's a good segue into my next question is when you mentioned evening session and the previous topic about that, well, maybe they couldn't see a therapist or a counselor during the school day. Will there be a requirement for these positions that they serve those off hours, that we have somebody on staff then, especially kind of as a pressure valve relief for the police if they come across somebody? And that's always been kind of one of the arguments about, well, you know, if you get social services in with the police units, they aren't going to be there 24/7. So I'm just wondering, would we try to enhance the hours of coverage to kind of meet those other needs? We lost Dave.
I think we lost Dave. I'll answer for you. Yes. I mean, and keep in mind, this is a bare minimum request. I'd love to see this expand, but we also said, you know, this is the first dip into the COVID bucket. Let's get our feet under us and figure this out and play a little bit. I'd rather not overfund it, but maybe underfund it and come back. You know, this $5 million sitting there in this 4 to 6 years suspended. So this is our, again, tiptoeing into it. We're not growing government. This is a program that will expire if we decide, or whoever's sitting in our seats in 6 years decides that this was a worthwhile thing and a need in our town. Going forward, we'll make that decision later. But yes, the idea would be to contract with not maybe an individual at first, but maybe a group like Project Courage that has multiple therapists and counselors on their staff. And yes, they do work with school systems, police forces, etc., that can be a resource on off hours.
Okay.
And that would be the goal. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Good question.
Does anybody else have any questions? No, I think we lost Dave Putnam. I don't see him, but he did a
He
nice
came
job explaining everything. So
back into the attendees.
yeah, let me see if I can get him back. Oh, here he is. Hang on one sec. Tell me if he's back.
Here he comes.
There he is. Dave, are you there?
There he is.
Yes, I don't know what happened. I lost you guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I lost my connection there.
Ann's got an itchy trigger finger. What the question was, Dave, and I'll bring you up to speed, and I'd like you to fill in where I may have missed it. But Richard's question was, what about off hours? What about flexible hours? And while we're starting this, and maybe a little rigid right at the beginning, I think as we determine the need and how this will solve some issues and some problems, that, you know, contracting with a Project Courage or a group like them that have those multiple people on staff and do work with schools and police forces and recovery centers throughout the state, that we will be able to expand that as well.
Right. And I think the high school already has a very successful relationship with Project Courage right now through their drug and alcohol counselor. But I think we would do our due diligence with this and you know, do a request for proposal for you know, someone that would be a contractual therapist and you know, send it to a Project Courage and send it to you know, some other groups like that or similar to that to see what we get back for services and that kind of thing. I think that would be important to do as well.
Great. John?
Hi, Dave.
Hi, John.
I have a question. You have these counselors here to the youth services of East Lyme, and the high school, which we approved in this budget season for social services and counselors too for them. Who or what determines which one of these services are used?
So I think it would be where it's referred to and what the process was. So the the high school counselor is really drug and alcohol related. If we had somebody with anxiety issues or some of those other things, that we might be the area that that someone would come to for us. Or if they're, you know, if they're a middle school student, where does that middle school student go for possible services? So I think we could bridge that gap and really fill those holes. And like I said, to start, maybe we're 8 to 10 hours a week based on our, as far as the therapist is concerned. I hope does that answer your question, John? I think.
Well, more or less, but I would think you'd have to have somebody to coordinate the two areas.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that would be part of the counselors would have to get together, and we would all have a great relationship now. And we'd have to keep those lines of communication open between the two departments and agencies.
I don't know that it's been brought up, but we've been working with the school counselor group. Chris Mountain, you all know Chris. He's a man about town. He's been with the system for quite a while. He's a great guy. He and Dave worked together on this plan on saying, what are the gaps? What's the dovetail here? We don't want to duplicate. That was brought up in a town meeting. Why are you doing this? We're already doing it. No, we want to enhance and fill the gaps where necessary. And then of course the gaps beyond 18 years old. There's a chasm of no coverage there. But yeah, good point, John. There might be opportunity for, and maybe a student is just anxious about seeking counseling in the school system.
Right.
That might be attached to that or whatever. And then we draw that person out to a more private setting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Good answer. Yep. Perfect.
Okay, thanks.
And what else is on the list, Anna? Or anyone?
The shoreline food truck.
Okay. This came from the East Lyme Board of Selectmen. We came up with this idea because as you know, back in the spring, before we even got the money, we were interviewing organizations and where we're going to spend some of this money. And of course, we brought in Karen Share. They'll be part of your September request. And we didn't want to just give a whole bunch of turkeys at Thanksgiving. What we wanted to do is give these groups sustainability. What do you need? What are your needs? And in the Shoreline Food Kitchen and Pantry is I believe they serve like 9 or 11 towns down the shoreline. I think we're the most, I think they go to Waterford too, but they go into Chester and they go into Essex and they go down the coast to Guilford and that area, and certainly Old Saybrook. And they serve patrons throughout those areas. And as you know, our East Lyme Giving Garden delivers a lot of that fresh produce to the food in the kitchen. They move food around quite a bit because they have multiple locations in all these towns. Again, 9 or 11. They have a broken down truck. And they said, you know what, the one thing we need, we always need a refrigerator because we have these different locations and they break down, but we're always planning for that. And maybe that might be a request in the future. But right now they needed a truck. They need a truck real bad. And it's about $100,000 for a refrigerated truck, box truck with the lift gate, because right now they don't have a lift gate. And right now their refrigerator truck, I don't think has as a refrigerator that's working and all that. So the Board of Selectmen said, well, we're not going to buy a truck. But what if we paid our fair share toward a truck and had all the other towns also do that? And that's exactly what happened. So from that little conversation sprung all these towns who have come up with $10,000 toward this truck. And that's what they asked for. They have a great resource of food and monetary donations that come in, but they need that sustainability. They need that infrastructure improvement, and they would be very grateful if and that was all their ask for now. I mean, they might need a full-on commercial refrigerator at some point, but they just got one of these Lymes. I don't think that request is going to come. So this is their request. It's a $10,000 payment toward the refrigerator truck, which will be shared expense with all the area towns.
Does anybody have any questions? John?
One. So Mark, at this point, we don't know if there's any funds available from the American Rescue Plan or not.
Do we say that again?
Do we know or not know if there's any funds coming from the American Rescue Plan
To that organization?
for this truck?
We are using our American Rescue funds for the truck. That organization is not eligible for American Rescue funds.
So it's just through us.
It would be, yeah, and Karen share too. It will be up to the towns to donate to these organizations and the nonprofits.
Okay.
That's not to say, well, you know, let's put an asterisk on that. There's so much government funding out there right now. I was gonna use a bleeping word, but there's so much money out there, and there's so many grants, and there's so much out there. That's not to say they're not also gonna go apply for some of that, but specifically the American Rescue Funds, this is the primary purpose: mental health, food, eviction, helping businesses stay afloat. Those are like those are the high categories right there. And now that it's expanded to public safety, you know, policing, and you know, the violence in America being addressed and all that. But yes, this is a primary function of our funds. Good question.
Are there any other questions? Okay, Mark, I just have one question. It looks like these are pretty clear cut to me, but did this go through the town attorney, these appropriations?
You did get it in your packet last time.
Okay.
And you had the addendum, which spoke directly to the roof, but you also had about a 3-pager in there. Yes, they all are not only eligible, but you know, it's our determination that this is how it should be used.
Okay, great, thank you.
You got it.
Okay. I guess there's no other questions. Can I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $280,557 for the following items, with the source of funds being American Rescue Funds. $5,129, Wi-Fi improvements at East Lyme Town Hall. $14,428, virtual meeting package at East Lyme Town Hall. $132,000, microwave dishes for emergency public safety management. $44,000 for security cameras at various town locations for public safety. $55,000, wellness prevention mentoring coordinator for East Lyme Youth Services. $20,000, clinical therapist, counselor for East Lyme Youth Services, and $10,000, Shoreline Kitchen and Food Pantry regional refrigerated truck. Note, town meeting is required.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, John Birmingham. Okay, is there any other issues, discussion, questions? No, okay. All those in favor of approving this motion, please indicate by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, it passes 400. Thank you very much. And, oh, okay. On to the next. It says here we're going to appoint an auditor for June 30th, 2021. Anna, is that something that you would address? I think you're muted.
I was, yes. Okay, so as the contracting authority, the Board of Finance needs to officially appoint the audit firm to conduct our annual financial statement audit. And so that's, what you're being asked this evening. Our current auditors are CLA.
Clifton, Larson, and Allen.
And Allen, yes. And so last year, as you recall, we did an RFP. So the RFP was for a 3-year term with an option to extend it for 2 additional terms. So this would be year 2 of that RFP that we did.
Are there any questions for Anna?
Yes, Anna. Do you expect, there's certain things mentioned, pages 10 to 12 in the engagement letter. Do you envision any of these things coming to pass as delays? You know, we've had some changes in our general ledger. We're coordinating with Board of Education. Any other processes that can, I mean, COVID aside, obviously, but any other processes that, you know, might affect price in the services provided by the auditor?
So we are currently in process of the accounting software upgrade, and we're expecting to get that completed by the end of this fiscal year. So I mean, for the 6/30/21, we should be all set. That might have an impact on 6/30/22, but that's a year away.
Okay. And then I guess I had a thought, and I'll just throw it out at this point, that in looking at this engagement letter, it's essentially an agreement, it's a contract. I just didn't see, and I tried to find previous year's engagement letters, but the archives weren't cooperating today. But I don't see a sort of begin date and end date. And I know these are flexible within audits, but I was thinking that just a suggestion that we may want to just have a on or about begin date and an expected completion date. And the reason why I say that is there were lots of clauses in this agreement that kind of, you know, keep the door open to this change and that change, or this potential delay or that. And, you know, I think both parties, both the town and the auditor, could use to have that little bit of structure. I came across one RSM correspondence which talked about a beginning date and early services. So that was kind of my little guidepost, but I'd just like to see that a little more. I think it gives incentive to both sides to keep to schedules, because I know they provide you with schedules and there's a give and take there. But I mean, in the end, what I'd really love to see is an earlier completed, you know, audit, because the earlier we get the information, I think the more useful it is to us as a board and to the town and to the public generally, because some of it, after so much time passes and we're into like the next year, it does become somewhat stale. Not every piece of information, but some of it, you know, we have to remember, oh, we're working with different numbers now, and this is old information. So just a thought. I actually drafted a little sentence, but you could also put beginning and end dates and initial it if.
Well, actually, I mean, the goal is to get the audit completed and filed by the end of this calendar year, which will be December of 2021. So that's the goal.
Right. Okay.
Right. And on page 3 of the letter to the Board of Finance, it's towards the bottom. It's the sentence paragraph that's right before other planning matters. I don't know if this satisfies what you're asking. We expect to begin our audit on approximately July 26th, 2021, and issue our report on approximately December 29th, 2021.
So where is that? Because I didn't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
It's page 3. There's 2 different letters that we got. One that was to Board of Finance and Management, and then there was a smaller letter to the Board of Finance, Town of East Lyme. They were both dated July 27th, 2021. The one that I'm reading from.
Okay. So we got this, this was in our green folder.
There were 2 that were in the green folder. Yeah. This one is a 5-page letter.
Yes.
And then what you were looking at before was the longer letter.
Right, which is actually the contract, I guess. It's really the engagement letter, right? So maybe we just pluck that out of there. You know, something like that. I mean, just a thought. It's up to you know, I guess our authorities that sign the contract to decide on that, but just a suggestion that we have that parameter within the engagement letter. I just feel like it gets that mindset going that both sides have to make best efforts to start on time and end on time, you know, because you know, we have COVID clauses in here. So, you know, I guess we can ka-ching, you know, use that at times too, but you know, there's plenty of leeway, but I'd like to see that structure in the actual audit letter. Thanks for pointing that out, Rich, because I haven't really taken much look at this required communication. So thank you.
Is that letter part of the contract with
So-
CLA?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because, you know, they have a general clause in what I consider to be the contract that this agreement, this letter of engagement consists of the entire agreement and it supersedes other documents. So that's why, you know, all the more reason to, if there's any little thing you want to stick in there, it's probably good to stick it in here, you know? So.
I don't have that letter in front of me. Is that something that we would want to maybe attach, you know, as an exhibit to the contract to make it part and parcel of the contract?
You could do that.
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, right. That's this one. You could do that as well. Either way would probably solve that. But let me see what the standards. This is.
Or just add like a clause.
Yeah, you
with
could
that
do that.
language.
Either way will work. Either way, you know, you could attach it as part of the agreement, or you could just have a sentence about beginning and end dates. But that's a thought. But I just feel since, you know, this is kind of a thing that happens year to year where we, you know, our RSM last audit was actually, I think they gave us a report in February. So that's the best I've seen since I've been on the board. And then, you know, COVID came and I don't think that helped our situation, you know, on both sides with this past audit. So I was just thinking, how can we rein it in a little bit, you know, and just give a little verbiage to what should, you know, be your standard, you know. But
So Anna, is that something that
Well,
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure who I would talk to about it or who,
yeah, so
who
so
would deal with
actually,
that?
the communication to the Board of Finance, you know, by professional standards and ethics, the audit firm is required to give that communication to the Board of Finance. So I think it's clearly stated in that communication of when the, you know, when it's expected to begin and when they expect to complete the report by the report completion date.
And do you have that, Ann Tintoro? I don't have it in front of
I
me
have
for
it.
whatever reason.
yeah,
Can you
I-
find what Anna Johnson is speaking about?
yeah, I mean, in this is a required communication dated July 27. And in the context of that, it's quite detailed. We expect to begin our audit approximately July 26 and issue our report on approximately December 29. So, yeah, I mean, you could reference it. Of course, the dates will change. I mean, because now we're past July 26. So you can't, I mean, in theory, you can't begin without the engagement letter. But yeah, I think, you know, either way, I mean, you could, I mean, this is, there's so many standard communications that they have to make, you know, in accordance with auditing standards, GASB, whatever. And so that's how I looked at this. So honestly, I didn't like peruse through this very much because I was more concerned about the actual engagement letter. And then I guess what the red flag for me was that on the last page of the engagement letter, that this is to constitute the entire agreement. So that's why I thought, well, where's my beginning and end date, you know? So, but you could reference this. I mean, that's one way of doing it, you know, just writing. You can always write a sentence in on your signatory page, you know, and then initial it, you know, or attach it as a document and sign it.
Who signs this engagement letter, or who's in charge of that?
So the letter is signed by the Board of Finance chairperson, so, and then I sign it as well.
Okay,
And then, of course, it would be, you know, who's ever the proper agent on the other side, you know, for.
so maybe we want to craft some language, just a sentence, and if you want to say something that we can add in just at the end, and then we can make a motion on it, approve it, and then I can have Camille Alberti, you know, sign off on it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have this sentence. I just drafted a quick, it's a very short sentence.
Okay, why don't you just tell everybody, then
Yeah,
people
so the
can at
sentence
least hear it.
Okay, the sentence would just go before the very last clause. The last page has the title of that paragraph, says agreement, but you could add this to the previous page 12. And it's just a simple sentence that says our services provided under this agreement will begin on or about, and we could use today's date if you want, and are expected to be completed on or about, what, December 29, they said, December 29, 2021.
Yes.
In accordance with the terms contained herein, because there, you know, there's many, you know, potential delays, you know, which everyone protects themselves. So that's what's happening in here, you know, extra services, this or that. So yeah, our services provided under this agreement will begin on or about today's date and are expected to be completed on or about December 29, 2021, in accordance with the terms contained herein. I think that kind of covers the topic.
And can you just identify, just for the record, what document you're looking at specifically?
So this is the letter from Ronald Nosek, principal of CLA, to the Board of Finance and Management, Town of East Lyme, dated July 27, 21. And this is basically the engagement letter, if you will. It confirms their respective agreement of terms and objectives, terms and conditions.
Okay. Is everybody okay with adding that language? Or is there any other issues with that? John, Rich?
No,
Fine.
good.
You're fine? Okay. All right. So why don't I make a motion then? Because I have one down here. And just make sure we're okay with it. I'll move to approve retaining the services of Clifton, Larson, and Allen, CLA, to audit the town's financial records for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021, with the amendment as detailed by Ann Santoro on August 11th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, Rich, thank you. All those, any other discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. Any opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion passes then 4-0-0. And Anna, did you get that language, or did Karen, did somebody? Or Ann, maybe you can send that language to Anna.
Yes, I will.
Okay, that would be great. Okay. I think that was a really good catch, Ann. Excellent. All right, public discussion. I think we are like very few people. Let me see. I don't think anybody else is here. Julie Wilson, but I don't think she wants to speak. Okay. board comments. Does anybody have any comments they'd like to make at this point? No? Okay. I guess I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Second it? Who seconded it?
Rich.
Rich, okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, great. Motion passes 400 and the meeting ends at some time. Wait a minute. 8:31.